Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Bitcoin, shall we? Because it is all really about Bitcoin. I know that we love altcoins in this channel, and generally speaking we do love altcoins, but there's really not a great deal to love, if anything, to be honest, apart from the odd one or two, that might or may not move at the same speed as Bitcoin. So there's not really a great deal to say about Bitcoin, about altcoins, other than this Bitcoin dominance chart. Basically, it's slow and steady. We again, you know me. We like to look at things on the weekly charts. The weekly charts give us the bigger moves, the bigger picture, and I think the picture is more or less in at this stage now that Bitcoin dominance is going to make a reversal. It is going to move up, and if it's going to move up, then we have to look at areas of resistance, and that's where we might be able to catch some decent moves. And I'm not talking alt seasons. It's not the same vibe as it was in January. But alt rallies or strength in alts, and we have to judge every alt by its own chart. But I'm not really going to be. I don't feel like there's a green light until we hit some resistance on this chart. And again, I'm treating this chart very slowly and carefully. It's a weekly chart, so yes, you will see some alts go 10 or 20%, and then you will see some alts go 10, 20% down. And it's just going to be like that all over the place. I mean, for me, that's not really. There's no entry points on anything until we hit a resistance. Now, it's like the risk to reward ratio that we always talk about, or going to the bookies and placing odds on the England game. Actually, it's an England game today. Well, if the odds are in your favour, you can play those odds. To be honest, the odds are in the favour of England today, playing Croatia. Quite dramatically, sounds to me like it's probably a bull trap. I'm not going to get too excited, but yeah. Anyway, I've deviated already. The idea is that the risk to reward is too low for altcoins right now. And if we think about what altcoins did when Bitcoin dominance hit this resistance over here and sailed all the way down here, I mean, it was great. It was brilliant. And this is the problem. I think a lot of people might feel as though they're in denial technically, because all they have known or all they have seen for a very long time is that alts just go up massively, and that's not the case. Alts go down massively as well, and it's just how we play the game of crypto. And for the moment, it's really all about Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin goes down, that's fine by me. I would rather be in a Bitcoin position that goes down than an altcoin position, because the way I see this chart is that potentially altcoins could get absolutely 100% completely wrecked. Now, I'm not saying that they will. I'm just saying that there is that is a scenario which looks relatively likely to me, and I don't fancy it. I just don't fancy it. Do you know when I do fancy it? I fancy alts at resistance. I fancy them at resistance and at resistance and at resistance and at resistance. I like all of that. I don't like it here. Just do not like it here. But it doesn't mean that you can't catch it at a decent bounce with altcoins. So let's just have a brief look at Bitcoin. I mean, for what it's worth, it's pretty looking pretty rubbish, pretty sideways. But again, this is exactly what I've been saying this entire time. It's going to be boring. It's going to be tedious, and this is why we should venture outdoors and enjoy some sun and just carry on with the rest of our lives for the next month or so, while this gets fleshed out into an actual a trend. At the moment, yes, you could say, well, we are in a trend. It's a downtrend, and that's right. And do you want to play a downtrend, or do you want to wait for it to bottom out officially, or do you want to wait for it to start to go into an uptrend, or do you want to just dollar cost average or accumulate at what this could potentially be right now as an accumulation area between upper 20s to lower 40s? It's a big area, I agree, but that could quite easily be the accumulation zone. But it might also just be it might just be settling down for another big stab down. I said it before, I'll say it again, every day that we remain above 33,000 is a good day, because this is the Bitstamp chart, a long history here, not the longest, but almost 10 years. the green 50 exponential on the weekly shows how even in bull and bear markets we do spend a little bit of time above here getting decent bounces, and historically we spend the vast majority of our time above the green 50 exponential. There is obviously bear markets that take place when we get closing below it, and again this is a weekly chart, but even when it does close below it we go into a bear market, and the bear market takes always a lot less time than a bull market will. So if you do end up going below here and we do come down to 16,000 potentially, it'll spend less time down there than it will do going up over the next few years. So again, I'm not calling a bear market, not yet. I'm definitely not calling a bear market yet, but it's certainly not. There's nothing particularly bullish at the moment with Bitcoin, or certainly not with altcoins. I still predict that we're going to be hashing out this range between 41 and lower 20s, which we've not quite tagged yet, but I think we will. I think we'll make a stab into the 20s, and maybe even have a double bottom around there, just based upon how I've recognised Bitcoin's behaviour in the past. Now, I really honestly think that what we're doing here is accumulating. There's a large amount of manipulation, it feels, that's pulled this down faster and faster, and now obviously the TA is technically still valid. To start with, you can handle a bit of manipulation, and the chart can bounce from that. But if it's just more and more and more and more, it's come to mould the chart. The chart has been basically forged into being in an official downtrend, and I always say one piece of bullish news or one piece of bearish news will make a wick, make a candle body, but then the chart will revert back to its normal trajectory. And in all fairness, this chart probably was going to go down anyway, or so, at least sideways. But now with all of this FUD and all of this bad news, it's brought it down so much so that the chart is actually doing its own thing, even though it may not have done this prior to all of that stuff kicking off. It's now definitely doing its own thing. So we can look at this chart and go, okay, what's happening? Death crossing coming, that's not good. A relatively decent area of support for the moment, which is okay, but we do have signs of some particular, the death cross isn't a signal as such, but it is a warning sign that the trend, the downtrend, is strong, and the resistances will be stronger, and it will take longer for it to go back into an uptrend. I suppose that's probably the best way to look at it. And so let's just accept it for what it is. If you're hodling, then that's no problem at all. This is going to work out fine. If you're margin trading, I would probably say for me, I would back off from all of that. When there are predictable trades and you can do scalping and things like that, that's okay. But I think until it's gone back into a specific trend, of any tangible levels of supports and resistances, rather than just dancing around in an accumulation zone, which is always such a hard, really hard area to trade in. Really hard area to trade in an accumulation. Then I'd just probably leave derivatives alone, to be honest with you. This is going to be boring, and also it's going to turn alts into, they're just going to get wrecked. So I think the best thing to do is dollar cost average and reaccumulate in these zones for Bitcoin specifically. Let altcoins destroy themselves completely, and then towards the end of this year, maybe into after the summer, we're going to have some amazing opportunities, just like we did around January. But for the moment, the opportunities are far and few between, and to be honest, sometimes some of the best positions you can have is a cash position. But for me, it's mostly Bitcoin and a little bit of cash left. I've reaccumulated all I can down at these levels, and if we break down further, I've got plenty to accumulate down there. Again, my overall viewpoint is that this is going to work out, over the next 6 to 12 months. So I'm okay with accumulating here and down here and see how far it could possibly go. Because I've seen and I've been around long enough to recognize how fast crypto can really pop when it wants to, and believe me, Bitcoin can pop. It really can. I don't know if anyone was around in 2017, but it was pretty impressive, and that was back then. You know, it can pop, and when it wants to, it will. And you know, the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to just chill out and allow this price action just to do its thing. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there, and hope you have a nice day and take it easy.